All right, Public Law 99-149, Title 1 provision relating primary to response liability. Amendment of the definition of Indian tribe, paragraph 16. Section 101, Comprehensive Emergency Response Compensation Liability Act, defining natural resource amendment with the strike on or laugh at the time of the period of the insertion to before with the punctuation of the end with the air following with the Indian tribe, the source of the resource with the trust of the restriction and alienation of any member of the Indian tribe. Save the local government limitation, paragraph 20 of the Section 101 circular with the defining the owner or operative amendment with the following new paragraph, and thereof the term and the owner operative does not include the union with the state of the local government will acquire the ownership of the control of the involuntary through the bankruptcy, the tax, delinquency, abandonment, other circumstances with the government involuntary accrue at the time settle virtue with the function sovereignty with the inclusion of the provided under paragraph should not apply with the state of local government which have the company contributed with the relief of the threat of the relief of the hazard substance facility with the of the state of the local government shall be subject to the provision of the acts and same manner the same extent of both of the proceedable the substance for the any of the non-governmental entity include the liability under section 107. Amendment clause for 3 is subparagraph A with the re with the file with the 3 within any of the facility with the title of control which would convey with the due to the bankruptcy, foreclosure, tax, delinquency, abandonment, similar meaning with the union of the state of the local with the government owned and operated with the otherwise controlled activities such as the facility immediately beforehand, capitalized with the first word of the subparagraph of B and C, substitute appear with the semicolon and with the subparagraph A and B and C. The relief of the paragraph 22 with the section 101 circular with the definement of the amendment, the inserting the environmental following included abandonment, the discarding of barrels containing containers and other receptacles containing the hazardous substance, pollutant, and contaminants. Remedial action, paragraph 24 with the section 101 circular with the definement of the remedial action is amended to follow with the strike of the welfare term that does not include the outside with the transportation that follow with the down through the semicolon over the end with the subparagraph insert with the welfare with the term and include with the offsite transport, off the storage, and the treatment of the destruction, and with the disposition of hazardous substance associated with the contaminated materials, striking before contaminated materials and with the associated response section 101 25 the circle is defining the response is amended with the inserting the end of thereof and all such terms including the terms of removal of remedial action, including the enforcement activity related thereto. Additional definition, section 101, circular with the demand by the striking out at the end of the paragraph 31, substituting the period with the change with the section might cover the end of paragraph 1 through 29 with the period with the insert with the term of the beginning of the paragraphs 1 through 20 with the paragraphs 28 and 31 with the inserting the term of the beginning with the paragraph 23 through 27 with the paragraph 29, 30, and 32 with the striking out with the term and the printer of the proceeding the paragraph 1 and adding the following new paragraphs to the end of the thereof the term and the pollutant with the contaminant should include but not limited to any of the element with the substance with the compound with the mixture with include with the disc Z with the causing agent which either after relief into the assimilation of any of the organisms the out with the earthy either directly from the environmental indirectly ingestion with the through the food chains will that may be responsibly anticipated couple the death of the disease behavior abnormalities cancer genetic mutation physiological malfunction include the malfunction with the reproduction or physical the deformation such as the organization of the offspring with except with the term of the pollutant contamination not included the petroleum including crude oil with any other fraction thereof which is not otherwise specified specifically listed the name of the hazardous substance on subparagraph A through F of the subparagraph 14 should not include the natural gas, liquid natural gas, and the significant gas for the pipeline quality of the mixture with the natural gas and such synthetic gas. Term alternative water supply included but not limited to drinking water, household water supply with the term of the contractual relation for the purpose of the section 107 and B3, but not limited with the contract with the D with any other instrument is transferring with the possession and left with a real property with the facility with the concern with the located with the acquired with the defendant with the after with the disposal or placement of the hazardous substance in or at the facility one or more of the circumstances which is described in 1, 2, and 3 with the also established the defendant with the preponderance of the evidence. At the time of the defendant acquired with the facility with the defendant with the did not know with the no reason to know with the any of the hazardous which with the subject with the relief of the threat and release was disposed of on and in and at the facility of the defendant with the government entity with the acquired with the facility in a sheet through any of their involuntary transfer acquisition through the exercise of the eminent domain authority with the purchase of the consumption with the defendant with the required with the facility with the inherent with the bequest in addition with establishing foregoing on the defendant with established as set for the requirements of section 107 the B3A and B to establish the defendant that has no reason to provide the cause 1 with the subparagraph A with the paragraph of the defendant that may undertake with the time of the acquisition, all property inquiry with the previous ownership of the use of the property, with considered good commercial and customary practice with the effort with the minimized liability for the purpose of the proceeding sense of the court with the shall take with the account with any of the specialized knowledge with the experience of the part of the defendant of the relation with the purchase right with the value with the property with the uncontaminated with the commonly known with the responsible assertion and information about the property obviously for the end with the presence with the likely presence of the contamination of the property ability to detect with the contamination of the appropriate inspection. Nothing in the paragraph of the section 107 B3 with the diminish for the liability of the any of the previous owner with the operator with the shut of the facility with the otherwise liability the owner the act notwithstanding with the paragraph of the defendant with the other obtain the actual actual knowledge of the relief and threatened relief that have the substance of the facility with the defendant owned with the real property subsequently transferred ownership of the property. Another person without disclosure of the knowledge of the defendant shall be liability of the second 173 shall be able to defendant. Nothing in the paragraph shall affect the liability under the act of the defendant who, by any act of the omission of the covenant, contributed relief, the threatened relief that has the substance which is the subject action relating to the facility. The term Indian tribe means the Indian tribe of the band of the nation and the other organized group of the community, including the Alaska Native Village and the not included the Alaska Native Regional Village Corporation with the reckoning of the eligible special program services provided by the United States for the to Indians recover their staff of the Indians. Reportable with the quantity with the section 102A with the circular with the amendment with the adding with the end with the arrow of the following with the new sensitive with the following all has substance with the regulation establishing reportable quantity with the published with the Federal Register on the section on and for March 1st, 1986 with the administered with the judge propagated with the subsection with the regulation establishing reportable quantity with no later within December 31st, 1960, they all has substance which proposed regulation establishing reportable quantities where they're not published in the Federal Register subsection with the before March 1st, 1986, with the administration public with the subsection proposed with the regulation established with the reportable quantity no later than December 31st, 1986, promulgated the final regulation over the subsection and established the reportable quantities no later than April 30th, 1988. Section 103, the notice of penalties. Section 103B with the circular with the demand with the striking out paragraph of the last sentence with the insert with the loop with their subsection with adjusting the left-hand margin of the text of the subsection found with the federally permitted release of the third place. It appears as though that there is no indications for such text. Section 4, response authorities. Responsible potential responsible parties, public and health threats. Section 104, the circular is amended by striking the list over the president that determines that all the file with the down with the part with the inserting the period with the following with when the president determines that such an action will be done with the promptly owned with the owner and operative with the facility with the best for the with the responsible party over the president may allow the such of the person to carry out the action, conduct with a remedial investigation, conduct feasible study within accordance with the section 122 with the remedial investigation feasible study the RI and FS for the should be able to the authorized exemption with the determine the president with the head of the party of the qualified to conduct with the RIFS only with the president contract with the range with the qualified person to sit with the president with overseeing the review of the contract with the RIFS and with the responsible party agree with the reimbursement over the fund any of the cost of the concur with the president under with any conjunction with the oversight with the contract arrangement. No event shall the potential responsibility party subject with the lesser standard of the liability receive the preferential treatment in any other way with a direct and indirect benefit with any with such arrangements. Response action contractor as the person however the retain with the response action contractor with the respect of the relief facility when the question the president shall give the primary attention to those of the relief within the president that may be the president of the public health threat. Removal of the action section 104 of the AT with the circular is amended with the read as well with the removal of the action with is undertaken with the president of the section any other person when they refer to as section 122 should extend to the president deemed the practical to contribute to the efficient performance at any long with the term of the remedial action response respect to relief of the threat and release concern with limitation response section 104 circular with is further amended with adding the paragraph 2 with the new paragraph of limitation response the president shall not provide for the removal of the remedial action under the section with the response of the relief of the threat of the release a natural occurring with the substance of the unaltered form of the altered solely with the naturally occurring the process of the phenomenal location with the naturally found. The product with the part of the structure of the result of the exposure of the residential building business of the community structure into the public private drinking water supply with due to the deterioration system of the order and use the consumption limitation with nothing notwithstanding with the paragraph 3 with the subject consent with the authorized section with the president may respond with any with the release of the threat released evidence with the president's discretion over the constitute the public health of the environmental emergency with no other person over the authority capable to respond to the emergency will do so over the timely manner. Coordination investigation section 104 circular with the name of the the information study with the investigation after B by adding the end there of the following new paragraph 2 coordination investigation president shall promptly notify the appropriate federal state and natural resource of the trustees potential damage of the natural resource resulting from release under investigation pursuant with the subsection C the coordination assessment investigation planning under the section of federal state trustee for the late initial obligation fund over the section limitation section 104 circular with his amendment with entitled 40 striking out $1 million over the 6 months within the in lieu of the $2 million in 12 months respectively. Continued response section 104C with the one with the circular with the amendment with the inserting the before the obligation of the found with the C with the continued response action with the otherwise appropriate with the consistent with a remedial action be taken with the facility owned and operative with the state with the person paragraph 3 with the section 104 circular with the amendment with the striking out with the 2 with the leaf of the all with the following with the period with the end there over the inserting 50% of the each for the greater amount of the president may determine the appropriate taken into account with the agree with the responsible state political subdivision with the release any expended the relief of the facility there was operated by the state and public subdivision there over the directly through the contractual relationship. Otherwise, at the time of the disposal, has substance therein with the purpose of the clause 2 of the subcarrier of the term of the facility does not include the navigable waters in the bed underlying on the water. Cross-reference the cleanup stand with the section 104C4 with the circle with the demand with the read is filed with the selection of the remedial action. The president shall select with the remedial action to carry that section in accordance with the section 121 Act relating to cleanup standards. State credit section 104C with the circle is demand with the adding of the following the new paragraphs before the state credit granting the credit of the president shall grant the state credit the agent against the share of the capital which with responsibility on paragraph 3 with respect to the facility listed on the national president national priority list for the national contingency plan with the amount of the expense of the state of the remedial action facility pursuant with the contractual cooperative agreement the president of the credit of the user under this paragraph shall be limited with the state expense of the previous president determined with the reasonable documented directed out of expenditures and non-federal funds. Expenses before listing of the or agreement the credit of the owner of the paragraph shall be the expense of the remedial action facility before listing with the facility with the national priority live before with the contract cooperative agreement extension of the owner paragraph section of the facility if and after the such expense of the incurable facility listed on such list of the contract cooperative agreement into the facility the president determined that such expense for the half of the credit of the stated owners or paragraph the expenditure had been made after listing of the facility such listed after the date of the which with the contract cooperative agreement is entered into the response action between the 1978 and 1980 with the credit for the other paragraphs will include the following fund expended with or obligated by the state of the public subdivision thereof the January 1st, 1978 with the before December 31st, December 1st of December 11th, 1980 with the cost eligible will respond to the action claim with the damage for the compensable under 111. State expense after December 1st, 11th, 1980 in excess of the 10% of the cost of the credit is paragraph shall include with the 90% of the state expense is incurred with the facility owned but not operated by the state of the public subdivision thereof the shall credit apply with the expense for the incurred with the presumed the contract cooperative agreement under section D with the only with the expense for the incurred with the December 1st, December 11th, 1980 before the date of the enactment of the paragraph. Or E, item approval. In case of the expenditure for the made after the date of the enactment of the paragraph, presume they require the approval of the each for the expenditure for the condition of the granting of the credit in the honor of the paragraph. F. You with the credit granted under the paragraph of the fund expend with the respect with the facility that may be you with the state of the word you with the all of the part and share with the cost otherwise required with the pay with the state and under the paragraph 3 with the connection with the remedial action so the really amount with the fund with which credit is allowed under the paragraph of the with the share with the cost of the facility of the state may you with the amount with the such for the excess of the reduce all the parts of share with the chef with the cost of the other facility with the state of the critical shall not entitle the state with a direct payment. Treatment of the certain activities made with the remedial action, section 104. Particularly, is amended with adding with the following new paragraph of the paragraph 5. The operation made with the further purpose of the paragraph subsection in the cave of the ground surface of the well with the contamination complete with the remedial action, include with the completion of the treatment and other measures for the web, they're taken on site or the off site with the necessary for the restore of the ground, the surface of the well, quality, the level of the ensure for the protection of the human health of the environment with respect for the such measure for the operation for the such measure for the here the 10 years after the construction installation commencement of operation should consider the remedial action activity required to maintain the effectiveness of such measure for the following the such for the period completion of the remedial action, which for the efforts early with the consider the operation of the maintenance, with the limitation of the scope of the fund, with the office of management, during the operation maintenance and the period of the availability of the fund, with the heads of the substance Superfund, with the establishment of the chapter 8, with the chapter 98, with the internal revenue code in 1954, the tax revenue, with the appropriation of the general revenue, federal share, with the payment and the cost of the operation maintenance pursuant to paragraph 3. C1 with the paragraph 6 for the subsection relate over the operation making with the should be funded with the receiver that has the substance superfund with the amount for the recovered over the bath over the such for the funds under the Act. Recontracting section 104C with the circular is amended with the adding the following new paragraph after 7th. Recontracting the president is authorized to undertake with the continue whether in term of the remedial act for the president determine that they appropriately reduce the risk for the public health of the environment with once completing the remedial action required with the kind of recontracting to cover the discovery of the types or quantity of the hazards something not known at the time of the entry of the original contract with the author with the interim actions occurring for the takeover of the facility of the presumed the paragraph should not exceed the $2 million sitting with the section 104C with the circular is amended with the add with the following new paragraph of the paragraph D, seeking the effect of the 3 year of the enactment of the Superfund amendment of the Reauthorization Act of 1986 for the Super President shall provide the remedial action pursuant with the section of the state with the relief of the curve of the first enters into the contract cooperative agreement the president provide with the assurance of the deemed adequate with the president of the state will be assured the availability of hazardous waste treatment and disposal facilities have adequate capacity for the destruction treatment for the secure for the disposition have the waste for the reasonable expect with the generate with the state during the 20-year period during the state with the such for the contract cooperative agreement to dispose of the treatment and destroy area within the state of the outside of the state within corn for the interstate agreement of the regional agreement and authority and acceptable president and compliant with the requirements of subpart C with the solid waste disposal act with the cooperative agreement with the state with section 104D1 for the circle with its amendment with the read is filed with the cooperative agreement of the state application for the state of the political subdivision mayor of the Indian tribe may apply with the president to carry out the action with the authorized within section president of the state of the political subdivision. Indian tribes have capable to carry out all such actions according to the critical with the priority of the established pursuant to section 105 AD and to carry out the related enforcement action with the president may enter for the contract with the cooperative agreement of the state and political subdivision. Indian tribe to carry out such action. The president should make the determination regarding the application within 90 days of the president received the application and determine the condition contract with the cooperative agreement under the paragraph shall subject within the study for the term of the coordinate condition presidents prescribed the contract with the cooperative agreement may cover the specific facility with the specific facility reimbursement. Any state which expended with the fund during the period beginning in September 30th, 1980, for the end of the day of the enactment of the subparagraph of the response of the action, include with national priority to lift the subject with the cooperative agreement under the act for the reimbursement for the share of the cost of such action which for the federal government is responsible under the act. Information gathering acts for the authority section 104E with the is a member of the redesignating paragraph 2 through 7 with the line with the margin with the subparagraph paragraph 1 through 6 with the subsection inserting with the confidential information before A and with the records by striking out paragraph 1 of the striking out with the E with the inserting the loop with the other following information. Information gathering asking for the access for the authorized with any officer employing with the representative of the period and duly designated with the president of the authorized with the take of the action under paragraph 2, 3, 4 with any other combination thereof. The vessel facility, the establishment, place of the property, the location, in the case of the paragraph 3, 4 of the vessel facility, the establishment, place of the property, location, which is adjacent to the vessel facility with the establishment, place of any duly designated officer employed with the representative of the state of the public subdivision under the contract of cooperative agreement, then in subsection D1 with the authorized to take of the action with the authority with the paragraph 3 and 4 with may be to exercise only with a reasonable basis of the belief that if there may be to relief the threat with the relief that has something to pollute and contaminate, authority of the subsection may be extra only of the pursuant to determine the need of the response and should be taken any of the response action under the title other those enforcing provision titled. Acts for the information. Any officer employed with the representative of the described paragraph 1 with may require that any person who have the information relevant to the following with the furniture without unable to be responsible notice the information of the document relating to such matter, the incident nature of the quantity of the material they have then generated, treated and stored with the disposed of the vessel with the facility transported in the vessel facility, the nature of the extent of the relief of the threat and relief of the hazards of the pollutant with the contaminant form of the vessel facility. Information over the sea, information reliability, relating ability, the person paid with the form of the perform a cleanup. In addition, upon reasonable notice, such for the person either shall grant as such for the officer employed with the representative access at the reasonable time in the vessel facility establishment, place for the property location and inspection. Copy of the documents, records, linking such manner shall copy the furniture for the officer employed with the representative of the officer's document recorded and option. The expense of the such person entry and the officer employed with the representative that described and paragraph 1 to be authorized to enter for the responsible times as filed with the vessel of the facility, the establishment, and any other place for the property with the hazardous substance pollutant the contaminant that may be to have generated the stored or treated, disposed of the transformed any of the vessel facility, the establishment, and other place for the property with which for the hazardous substance pollutant the contaminant has been made have been released. Any vessel facility, establishment, and other place for the property which have been relieved that may be threatened. D. Any vessel facility, establishment, and other place for the property with entry that determine the need for response. Appropriate response effectuate a response action under this title. In section sample, the authority, any officer employed with the representative described paragraph of the one authorized with the inspect of the other sample, any of the vessel facility with the establishment, any other place for the property referred to paragraph 3 for the any location inspected with the something pollutant with the contaminant with the such other officer employed with the representative of the authorized to inspect the obtained with the subset sample the container labeling subject with the habit has been shoved into the pollutant contaminants. Each of the inspection should be completed with reasonable promptness. Sample B. Sample if without the representative obtained with the sample before leaving the premises shall be given the operative with the owner operative with the tenant with the other person changed the charge of the place of the from which of the sample with the receiver the describing the sample with the obtained with the request for the portion of each of the sample copy of the result of the analysis is made with the such for the sample furnished promptly with the owner and operative with the tenant with the other person with the charge for the such for the person located. 5. Compliance order. The issuance of consent with the not granted regarding any of the requests of the officer employed represented in paragraph 2 and 3 and 4 with the president may issue the other direction compliant with the request of the order may be issued of the notice opportunity for the consultant installation with the responsible appropriate under the circumstance. Compliant with the president but may be after the attorney for the general commence with a civil action with the compliance with the complete compliance with the request of the officer preferred with the paragraph A with the reasonable basis for the belief that there may be the release for the threat of the belief that has substance of the pollutant contaminated with the course of the shall be taken the following actions. In the case of the interference with the entry with the inspection of the shore shall the enjoyment with the such for the interference with the direct compliance with the order with the prohibit the interference with the entry with the inspection and left the under the circumstance with the case of the domain with the entry with the inspection and arbitrarily capriciously abuse the discretion otherwise not in accordance with law. In the case of the information documentation the requirements of the request and the orders of the court shall enjoy the interference such for the information information document requested in order for the direct compliance with the request of the order to provide such the information documents under the which of the circumstances the case of the demand information documentation arbitrary capriciously and abuse of the discretion otherwise not in accordance with the law of the court may except for the civil penalties not exceeding $25,000 each day for the non-compliance given to any of the person unreasonable fail to comply with the provision paragraph 2, 3, and 4 for the order issue pursuant to subparagraph A of this paragraph. 6. Authority. Other authority. Nothing in the subsection precludes the president of the securing acts of obtaining the information in any of their lawful manner. Basically, the withholding information, paragraph 7 of the section 104E of the circular formally, paragraph 2 of the redesignated subparagraph 1 of the section amendment, the adding of the following new subparagraph at the end of thereof. No person required to provide information when they act may claim the information entitled to the protection of the paragraph unless such the person over the following with such manner person have the scope of the information from the other person with the member of the local emergency planning committee for the establishment title 2 title 3 of the amendment of the Reauthorization Act of 1986 any of their employee with the United States, with the local government employee with the such of the person, or person bound with a confidential agreement, the such of the person, have taken the reasonable measure to protect the confidentiality of such of the information as intended to continue with it in such a measure with the information but not require the disclosure of the otherwise made available public under any other federal state law, but the disclosure of the information likely to cause the substantial harm of the competitive position of such a person, specifically chemical identified and such a sought to be protected, not readily be discovered through the reverse engineering. The following information with respect to the head of the substance of the facility of the vessel shall not be entitled to protection. The paragraph of the trade name with the common name of the generic class of the category of hazardous substance. The physical property of the substance include the boiling point, melting point, flash point, specific gravity, vapor density, solubility of the water vapor pressure of the 20 degrees Celsius, hazard health of the environmental flow with the substance including physical hazards such as the explosion, potential actuate chemical, chronic health and hazards. The potential routes of human exposure for the substance of the facility to establish relation to the property of the being investigation and the inspected under the subsection location of the disposal of any of the waste stream with any monitoring data, the analysis of the monitoring data, the pertaining to the disposal activity, hydrogeological, geological data, the groundwater monitoring data, acquisition property in general, the section 104 circular with the amendment with the adding of the following new subsection and of the acquisition property, the president of the authorized to acquire with the purchase, leave with the consumption with the dominating donation. Otherwise, any of the real property interest of the real property is that the president in discretion determined the need with the conduct of remedial action with the paragraph shall not cover the action to compel the president to acquire the interest of the real property under this act. State assurance the president may give the authority with the paragraph 1 with the remedial action before the interest of real estate acquired with the subsection state with the interest required with the located with the the president through the contract cooperative agreement the other way of the table will accept the transfer of the interest of the completion of the remedial action. Exemption from the no federal, state, local government agency shall be liable to act solely with the result of the acquiring interest in real estate under subsection. Section 105, National Contingency Plan. Subsection A of the Section 105, Section 105 of the circular is an amendment to the heading of the insert of the revision, republication of the head of the ranking system, and paragraph 8A of the insert of the following after the ecosystem for the damage of the natural resource for the main effect of the human food chain, which is associated with any relief, threat, and relief of the contamination potential combination of the ambient air, which is associated with the relief of the threat and relief of national priority to lift the paragraph 8B with the strikeout of at least 400 over the strikeout of the facility to leave the insert loop of the air facility insert as after each for the state of the following state whether shall be allowed the designated with a high priority facility only once. Forming an amendment in paragraph 9 insert after and there of the following include the consideration minority firm in accordance with the subsection F the standard of the perceived the innovative treatment of the technology. Strike it out in the end of the paragraph 8 with the strike over the period at the end of the paragraph 9 with the loop there of the inserting the paragraph 9 with the following new paragraph 10 and testing perceive the alternative initiative of the treatment of the technology can determine the appropriate utilization response action authorized in this act with the new subsection 105 of the circular with the amendment with adding the following new subsection and end of thereof the revision of the land no later 18 months after the enactment of the Superfund amendment of the Reauthorization Act of 1986 with the president shall provide with the national contingency plan with the reflect with the requirements of the amendment of the portion of the plan was known as the national hazard substance response plan with the shall be revived with the provide the head procedural the stand for the remedial action undertaken the pursuing the act with the amendment that made with the Superfund is Reauthorization Act of 1986 relating to the section of the remedial action have of the ranking system the revision no later than 18 months of the enactment of Super Amendment and Reauthorization Act of 1986 with after the publication over the opportunity to submission for the comments for the court for the section 553 with the Title 5 of the United States Code of the President shall reply to rule the promulgated amendment that have of the rankings of the affect with the same November 1st of 1984. Such amendment shall assure the maximum extent of the feasible of the head of ranking sufficiently accurately assessed for the relative damage of the risk assessment human health and environmental notes by the site of the facility subject to the review of the President shall establish the effective date of the amendment of the head of the ranking system within no later than 24 months for the enactment of the Superfund enactment of the Reauthorization 1986 for the Superfund amendment have the ranking system shall be applied with any of the site of the facility with the newly listed with the new national priority leave with the effect of the day with the established for the President Unison, with effect of the date of the regulation and have the ranking system effect September 1st, 1984, shall continue with the full force of effect of the health assessment waste contamination risk is in carrying out the subsection of the President's assurance of the human health of the risk associated with contamination. Potential contamination either directly result of the runoff of the other facility surface water with the appropriate assessment of the surface water the air can be used for the recreation of portable water consumption, making the assessment required for the presumed preceding section of the sentence. The President will take into account with the potential mitigation of the hazardous substance of the dilute contamination through the surface water of the downstream resource source of the drinking water. Reevaluation not required, but the President shall note that shall not be required to reevaluate after the reenactment of the Super Amendment with the Reauthorization Act of 1986 that have the ranking any facility evaluated in accordance with the criteria of the section. The effect of the date of the amendments has a ranking system under the subsection with the assigned with the national priority under the National Contingency Plan. New information. Nothing in paragraph 3 shall be precluded with the President taking the new information into account under the take of the response action on this action. Petition assessment of the release. Any person who is may be affected by the relief of the threat and relief of the hazard substance flowing with the contamination may petition for the President to conduct with a preliminary assessment of the hazard publicly on health environmental which associates such with the release and the threat and relief of the President not previously conduct with a preliminary assessment of the such relief of the President shall within 12 months of the receipt of the such position complete assessment provide with the explanation for the assessment and appropriate preliminary assessment indicated the release of the threat and relief of the concern with the may pose human health threat to human health of the environment. The President shall promptly evaluate such a release of the threat and release in accordance with the hazard ranking system referred to by the AA with the subsection A determine the national priority for the relief of the threat and relief. The release from the earlier site of the whenever that has been on January 1st, 1985, the significantly relief of the hazardous substance of pollutants contamination from the site with the list of the investment of the site cleaned up with the date with the national priority list of the revision date of the 1984 with the site with the restore with the national priority list without application that has the system. Major contractor and awarded contractor under the act of the President shall consider the availability of qualified monitoring firms. The President shall describe it as part of the annual report submitted with the Congress under the act of the participation monitoring firms of the contract carried out under this act. Such a report shall continue with a brief description contract which have been awarded with binary forms minority firms under this act. The effort may be made by the President to curb the participation of such firms that have the programs carried out under this act. Special studies of waste. Application of the subsection apply with which with the date of the enactment Superfund Amendment of the Reauthorization Act 1986 include the proposed inclusion of the national priority list, which is a special study of the waste to describe in the paragraph 2.3 A3 and A2 and A3, Section 3001B with the solid waste disposal act of the President with a significant quality of any with the such facility to which they are the release of special studies. Consideration adding facility with the NPL, National Priority List. Pending the provision that has rank consistent with subsection, the President shall consider the following factor for the adding of the facility covered in section national priority list. Simple that have the ranking system score for the facility with the effect of the President with any of its special study, the waste, any release such a facility. Availability of the information quantity, the toxicity, the concentration, have the substance for the quantity with any of the special study with the relief from the such for the facility, the extent of the potential for the relief of the hazard consistency, exposure, potential exposure for the hazard, pollution with the environmental degree with the head for the human health of the environmental posed by the subparagraph refers to the availability information actual concentration has the substance of the now total of the quantity of the special study waste of the such facility. R3. Saving the provision. Nothing in subsection for the construct for the limit of the authority of the President remove the facility with the day of the enactment of Superfund with the amendment with the Reauthorization Act of 1986 include the national priority list for such list but not list of the name of the facility such date of the proposed inclusion on such a list. The information gathering and analysis. Note that if the aim of the act shall be constructed to preclude with the expenditure of the money with the fund for the gathering and analysis of the information which enable the President to consider the special factor required in paragraph 2. Section 106, the reimbursement. Section 106 of the circle with the amendment is filed with the insert with the one and the insert of the willfully with the insert with without sufficiently cause willfully. Added with the of the new paragraph of the 2A with any person receiving the comply with the term of the aim with the order with the issue with the subsection A with the name with the 68 after completion required action, repetition of the President, reimbursement of the fund with the reasonable cost of such action, the plan apply for the insert with the interest paid with the available under the paragraph shall accrue the amount with the extent spent with the day with the expenditure same area with the specified with the interest and investment have the substance Superfund with the established under subparagraph chapter A with the chapter 98 with the Internal Revenue Code with the 1954. Or if the President refused the grant all of the part of the petition made with the paragraph of the petition within 30 days of the receipt of the refusal filed with the action with against the President with the appropriate United States with the district court with the seek of the reimbursement of the fund, except for the provided subparagraph of the D with the obtainment of the reimbursement of the petitioner and established the pre-ordinance with the evidence if it's not liable to respond for the cost of subsection 107A. The cost will seek with the reimbursement of the responsible in light of this action with the required of the relevant order. A petitioner will be liable to respond for the cost of the under section 107A with the made with the cover of the reasonable cost of the respond for the extent of the demonstration with the administrative of the record with the President, the decision selection of the responsive action order with the arbitrary with the capricious Yes, while others not in accordance with the law of the reimbursement award with the under the paragraph shall include the responsible response costs in accordance with the petitioner, presumed with the portion of the award of the filing with the arbitrary capacious or other not in accordance with the law. The reimbursement award with the core of the subparagraph C and D may include appropriate cost even other expenses within accordance with the subsection A and D of the section 2412 of the title of the 28 United States Code. Section 107, the liability. Foreign vessels. Section 107, the circular with the demand of the striking out with the otherwise subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Recoverable cost of the damage. Section 107, the circular with the demand of the striking out with the name of the subparagraph V with the striking out with the period, the end of the subparagraph C with the inserting M, the inserting M with the following with the cost of the any of the health assessment, health effect of the carried out under section 104.1. The amounts recoverable in the action for this section with the include the interest amount of the recovered subparagraph of the A and D with the such for the interest over the shall accrue with the labor of the 1 and through the day of the payment specified amount of the amount of the debt on the rate and the 2 the day of the expense recurred in terms of the rate of the interest of the outstanding the unpaid balance of the amount of the recovery of this section shall same with the rate specified by the interest of the investment has itself in the Superfund with the established in subchapter A with the 98 with the internal revenue code in 1954 with the purpose of the applying with such a limit the interest down with the subsection term comparable with the maturity shall be determined with the reference to the day of the interest accruing under the subsection commencing for the rendering of the care of the advice of the emergency response action section 107 of the circular of the demand of the read is follow the rendering and the care of the device. In general, the expected is provided in paragraph 2 of the personal liability under title called the damage with the result of the action for the taken and admitted within court of the rendering care and assistance advice for the accordance with the national contingency plan any other or in direction of the unseen of the coordinator that appointed or such a plan with respect to the incident with the creating the danger of public health and welfare over the environmental result of any relief that has in terms of the paragraph there shall not include liability with cause of damage result of negligence of the part of the state such a person. State and local governments. If no state or local government shall be liable under the title of the cause of the damage as a result of the action responsible for the emergency created with the relief of the threat and relief that has something generated with the facility owned by author and another person. This paragraph shall not preclude the facility for the cause of the damage after the result of the gross negligence and intentional misconduct with the state of the local government for the purpose of the proceedings and for the reckless, willful, and wanton misconduct of the shall construe with them which gross negligence. Saving provisions. Subsection for the liability of any person for the cover of the provision, paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4 with the subsection A with the section respect for the relief of the threat and relief concern for the natural resource for the designation federal, state, and official of the section 107 of the circular of the insert of the natural resource liability after the ending and there of the following new paragraphs. Designation federal, state, official for the federal, with the president shall designate the national contingency plan published within section 105 of the federal officials who shall on one of behalf of the subsection on the behalf of the public trustee of the Natural Resource for the Act with the Section 311 of the Federal Water Pollution Control Act with the officials of the SF for the damage for the injury, destruction, and loss of the natural resource for the purpose of the Act. Subsection 311, those resources under the trusteeship that may be upon request of reimbursement of the state of the federal official, the discretion of the SF for the damage for the natural resource under the state of the trusteeship, the state of the governor, and each for the state of the designated the state official with the main act for the behalf of the act for the trustee natural resource for the under the act of Section 311 of the Federal Water Pollution Control Act, and notify the president of the designation state official for the damage of the natural resource for the purpose of the act. So Section 311, the natural resource under the trusteeship. Rebuttable presumption. Any determination of the damage of the natural resource for the purpose of the Act, Section 311 of the Federal Water Pollution Control Act, that made by the federal state of the trustees in accordance with the regulation promulgated within Section 311 and 301C, 301C with the Act of the habit of enforcement of the effect of the rebuttable presumption per habit of the trustee and administrator of the judicial proceeding under the Act of the Section 311 of the Federal Water Pollution Control Act. Under the recovered from the 107F of the circular with the designated with the paragraph 1 of the subsection amendment, the striking out with the third sentence. In serving the lieu of the following sum of the recovery of the United States government, the trustee under the subsection should be retained by the trustee without the further appropriation of the only restored with the replaced with the acquired with the equivalent natural resource sums over the recovery with the state with the trustee and the subsection of prevailable to the only with the restore replace acquire equivalent with the nature of the resource of the state of the measure of the damage of the action. So paragraph C of the subsection A shall not be limited with the insured which be you the restore of the placing restore of the mission may not be double the recovery with the act of the natural resource of the damage. Including the cost of the damage assessment with the restoration, rehabilitation, acquisition, same the relief of the natural resources. Alright, deadline with Section 301 with the regulation of Section 301.11 and circular with the demand with the following end of the air of the notwithstanding with the favor of the president of the promulgate with the regulation of the required with the subsection required date of the president shall promulgate with the regulation no later than 6 months after the enactment of the Superfund with the Reauthorization Act of 1980. The federal agency wants up with the G with the circular with the demand with the follow the G with the federal agency provision with the federal agency the Section 102 of this Act. Federal loop in the Section 107 of the circular is amended with the adding with the end there of the new subsection Federal law in general, valve the cost of damage of the person liable to under state of the subsection of the A of the section of the other than the owner operative vessel under paragraph the one of the subsection A constitute lieu in the favor of the United States upon all real property rights of the such property A belongs to such a person are subject to the effect of the removal of the remedial action duration lieu of the is in subsection A arrived later and following the time of the cost of the person inquired United States respect the response under the Act, the time of the person referred to in paragraph 1 provided by the certified of the registered mail written over the potential liability, such lieu with the continuity of the lieu until liability called early judgment agreed against the purpose of the rising of the start of the liability satisfied that becomes unenforceable through the operation of the state of limitation of section provided in section 113. Nor validity. In lieu of the imposed, the subsection shall be subject to the right of any of the purchaser of the whole of the security interest of the judgment, in lieu of the creditor of the insurance, perfectly applicable to state law of the performing in lieu of the county of the other governmental substance. Has been filed with the property state of the or county other governmental subdivision designated with the state of the real property subject to the lieu of the and lien of the located with the such for the purchase of the holder in security interest or in judgment and lien of the creditor with the afford with the same protection against the lien then imposed with the subsection afforded with the under the state law against the judgment and lien with the rise of any of the unsecured obligation which arrive at the time of the filing with the notice of the lien imposed of the subsection if the state is not liable by the law designated one office, the recipient of the notice of the lien with the notice shall be filled with the office of the clerk with the United States of the district the court of the district in which the real property located for the purpose of the subsection term purchase for the security interest that shall have identified the provided within subsection 6323H of the Internal Revenue Code of 1954 action into the remediation of the confidence due with the leave of the may be the covenant of the action of the United States of the District Court of the District for the removal of the remedial action is occurred that has occurred nothing in subsection affect the right of the United States to bring in against the action any person to recover all the cost of damage for which the person is liable under subsection A of the section. Alright, your maritime lien. All cost of damage for the owner and operative of the vessel liable in subsection with respect to the relief of the threat and relief over the vessel shall constitute with the maritime the favor of the United States over the such vessel so that the cost may be recovered in action of the remedial of the district court of the United States of the district of the vessel may be defined with nothing in the subsection shall affect the right of the United States to bring in action again for the owner and operative of the subject vessel and any court of the competent of the jurisdiction to recover the costs. Alright, Section 108, Financial Responsibility. Evidence of financial responsibility, Section 108B, with the critical of the remainder of the following end of the following financial responsibility may be established by anyone with the following combination filing insurance guarantee surety bound letter of the credit qualification self-insured with the obligation the requirements of under the second the president of the right specific policy with the contracting term of the condition of the defendant for which are necessary and unacceptable establishing evidence of financial responsibility in order to effectively purchase purpose of the act. For the pay in the period of Section 108B with the circulars amended with the striking out over the period not less than 3 or more than 6 years and certainly quickly as responsible for the achievement of an event more than 4 years. Direct action liability subsection C and D with the Section 108 section circular is amendment that reads as follows. Direct action. Relief of the realm of the vessel, the case of the relief of the threatened vessel within any claim that authorized in Section 107 and 111 that may be asserted directly against the guarantee over the provided instead of evidence of financial responsibility set for the vessel with the owner Section A subsection A. Defending such for the claim of the guarantor may invoke with all of the rights of the defendant which would be available to the owner of the operative with the title of the guarantor may also invoke with the defendant the incident that would call it the willful misconduct with the owner and operative of the guarantor may invoke with any of the defendant's guarantor may have been entitled to invoke the proceeding by the owner and no operative against him. The release of the facility then gave it the relief of the threat and relief of the facility any of the other authorized claim of 107 and 111 then serve directly again for the guarantee provided the evidence of financial responsibility with the sufficient facility under subsection B with the personal liability under Section 107 of the bankruptcy reorganization arrangement pursuant Federal Bankruptcy Code and with the responsible diligence jurisdiction federal court that cannot be obtained over a person with liability under Section 107 that will likely solve in time of the judgment in case of the action pursuant to the paragraph of the guarantor shall entitle to invoke all the rights of the defense would have been available to the person liability under subsection 107 the action have brought against such person claiming that all the rights of defense which have been available to the guarantor if an action have been brought against the guarantor of such a person. Limitation of the guarantor liability. Total liability, any guarantor with directly with the action through this section shall be limited to that great the amount of the monetary limited over the policy insurance the guarantee with the surety bound letter of the credit similar insurance that pertain to the guarantor of the person subject with the liability and Section 107 for the purpose of satisfying the requirement of evidence of the financial responsibility. Other liability. Nothing in the subsection shall be construed with the limited with the state federal statutory contractual common level liability guarantor included but not limited to the liability of the specifically guarantor bad faith of either negotiating fall of the negotiation settlement of the claim. Nothing in the subsection be construed and interpreted applied to dimensional liability to the person under Section 107 of the Act or the applicable law. Section 109 penalty violation criminal penalty notice, Section 103, B, the circle is amended with the file with the knowledge of such the release of the filing, who submit for the notification information over the file of the misleading. Strike out with no more than 10,000 of them in prison, no more than 1 year of the both, and insert for the loop of the in accordance with the applicable provision of Title 18 of the United States Code, in prison not more than 3 years, no more than 5 years, in the case of the second and the subsequent conviction or both. Destruction of record. Section 103D, 2, the circle is amended with the striking out with no more than $20,000 in prison, no more than 1 year of the both, and inserting the loop within accordance with the applicable provisions of Title 18 of the United States Code, in prison not more than 3 years, no more than 5 years, in the case of the second and subsequent conviction or both. Alright, false information 11 and 12B with a circle of the amendment striking out $5,000 in prison, not more than 1 year both, of the interpreting in thereof, in accordance with the applicable provision Title 18 of the United States in prison by not more than 3 years, not more than 5 years, in the case of the second of the subsequent conviction. Section 106 of the penalty, Section 106B, circle is amendment striking out $5,000 and inserting the loop of $25,000. And civil penalty in the award of Section 109. Circle is amended to read as follows: 109 civil penalties awards the last one administered the penalty violation. Civil penalty not more than $20,000 per violation may be discharged for the president in the case of any of the following violations: the requirement Section 103A with relating to notice, B, and the violation requirement of Section 103D2 relating to the destruction of the records, and etc. with the violation requirement of Section 100D, the relation to the financial relationship, etc. with the relation associated issue under Section 108, and any denial of detention under Section 108. A violation order under Section 122D3 of the relationship to settle the agreement and under the Section 104B. Any failure to refusal referred to in Section 122(1) with the relating to the violation administrative order is consistent with the decree with agreements with the Section 120. Alright, notice of the hearing. The non-civil penalties may be discussed under the subsection unless the required with the violation, give the notice for the opportunity of the hearing with respect with the violation. Determining the amount of the aim of the penalty set for presumed with the section of the president shall take into account with the nature of the circumstance, the extent of the gravity of violation or violations with respect to the violator, ability to pay in prior history with the such of the violation of the degree of the culpability and economic benefit of the safety and result of the aim of the violation and the other such of the manner as justice may require. Alright, review. Any person given the civil penalties of the subsection obtained with the review of the appropriate district court of the United States filing over the people of the court of the 30-day with the subsection of the orders of simultaneously send a copy of the notice certified mail to the president. The president shall promptly file within court with a certified copy of the record upon which the violation was found with the penalty imposed with the person fails to pay the assessment civil penalty after which become with the fine with the unapplicable the order of the appropriate court with the entire final judgment over the favor of the United States. However, they may require the Attorney General of the United States with the institute of the civil action appropriate District Court of the United States to collect the penalty, just go over the have the jurisdiction and hear the decide with any of the such action here. During such the action, the court shall have the authority to review the violation assessment of the civil penalty of the records opinions. The president may issue this opinion for the attempt of testimony witness the production of the relevant paper books and documents in connection with the hearing of the under the subsection of the case of the contempt to see the refusal of the obey of the opinion issued the presumed the paragraph of the server any of the found the person with the district court of the United States over the district of the such person found with the resident and transact with the business upon the application of the United States after the notice of such a person shall have the jurisdiction issued under order requirements of the such a person to appear with the given testimony before the administrative law judge superior produce the documents before the administrative law judge of the both of them in favor to obey such of the orders of the court may be punished and such of the court contempt thereof. The class 2 the administrative penalty civil penalty not more than $25,000 per day with the each for the day of the during violation constitute the assessment of the president in case of any of the following a violation over the requirements of Section 103A and B with the violation Section 103D2 with the relating with the destruction records etc. violation requirements of Section 108D with the financial responsibility regulation issued under Section 108 the any remedial any denial of detention under which the Section 108 4. A violation order of the under Section 122D with the relating with the settlement of the agreement of the action of the 14B with any of the refusal referred to the Section 122 relation of the violation administrative order with the consistent with the decree with agreements for the Section 120. In the case of the second and subsequent violation of the amount of such of the penalty may not be more than $75,000 each day with which the violation continue with the civil penalty of the subsection set for the collective in the same manner, subject to the same provision, and keep the civil penalty ceased assessing and collective notice of the opportunity of hearing with the recorded in accordance with Section 554 of Title 5 of the United States Code, but they proceed with the assessment of civil penalty of the subsection president may issue subpoena for the attendance of the testimony of the witness for the production of the relevant paper, the book, and the documents may propagate with the rules and discover the procedure of the person with the record of the hearing with respect to the civil penalty under the subsection agree with an order of the assessing the civil penalty may file with a joint petition for the judicial review of the order of the United States Court of Appeals for District of Columbia Court circle within subversion resides transact business subposition and may only file with the 30-day being over the day of the order making of the assessment issue. The judicial assessment, the president may bring in an action from the United States for the district court, appropriate district asset for the collective penalty not more than $25,000 per day each of the day during the violation period. The refusal of the continue the case of any of the filing violation of the requirements section 103A and B of the violation of section 103D2 of the destruction record of the violation requirements of section 108 relating to financial responsibility of section regulation of the section 108D with any remedial any denial of detention over the section 108 D 108. A violation of any order under section 122D3 with relating to the settlement agreement under the section 104B with any failure refusal to refer to the section 121.1 with a relating to the violation of administrative order consent to discrete agreements under section 120. Or in the case of the second subsequent violation of the failure and refusal amount of the penalty may not be more than $75 each during the violation of the failure refusal continue with the additional provision with the judicial assessment of the civil penalty for the failure to comply with the request under subsection 104 relating to the information gathering and assessing the authority of section 104 E. Award. The president may be awarded $10,000 for the individual provided the information for the arrest for the conviction but any of the person violations of the criminal penalty under this action include any violation section 103 any other violation referred to in the section of the president may be regulation prescribed by the criteria of the award may be awarded within the subsection component of the provided in section 111. Procurement proceed with nothing was any of the provisional level of the executive of the agency with the competitive of the proceeding proceed with the other than the competitive of the proceed with the procure with the service with the expert for the preparing prosecuting civil the criminal action on this action act with whether or not the expert with the expected to testify the trial by the executive agency not provided any of the written justification, either the perceived the other competency, perceived the procuring the expert, service with the act with the need to furnish for the public aid for the commerce, business, daily, and other words, and otherwise any notice the solicitation synopsis with respect to the such procurement. Saving clause. Any action taken with the president presumed the section shall not affect with the limit of the president's authority and enforce the provision of the act. And then we're going to cut the tape here, and we'll come back to it. So we're on section 110, Public Law 99-499, Superfund Refunded Recovery Act.